Okay, here we go. Chapter 4 of Before They Awaken. Love and Loyalty, the city of Ecbatana, the Parthian Empire. It was Mithra on that eastern ridge. He had made his choice. He had chosen the wolf pack. He was thin, and his fur was matted and balled up in clumps, unrecognizable from the silk-coated and muscled animal of before. The only thing that remained the same was the caudal mark in the upper part of his tail, the perfect shape of an hourglass. The perpetual smile had been replaced by a look of desperation, of deep hunger, that was pacified now and then by the taste of a grub or of a mouse, or sometimes from the leftovers of a kill that another wolf would bring him. And that other wolf, recognizable by scent, was the one that used to shelter him and allow him to suckle. He tried from time to latch onto her underbelly, as faded memories prompted him to do, to get the milk that used to appease his hunger, but she would not allow it. Could not allow it anymore because she was old and long past her time. Mithra himself was old. He had made his choice. Still, he could not forget the protectors down below. None of them had done him any harm. The opposite was true. They had fed him and kept him from harm. So he was torn in his loyalty. The ideal would be for the pack to expand and include both the wolves and the protectors who moved on two legs. But of course that was impossible. At times, Mithra would go to the ridge by himself to look down in hopes of seeing one of those protectors. Sometimes he would start to go toward them. Sometimes one of them would yell his name and start to run toward him. And in his uncertainty, he would lope away to the pack. In time, he learned to hunt for himself, small game like the hyrax or the shrew, both as abundant as ice is in winter, fish occasionally, too. And as his mother aged, roles began to reverse themselves. Mithra brought her food, the hyraxes and the shrews, and as such, he could not leave. Until a time when the old girl failed to get up. Mithra pushed at her with his nose, tried to lift her. She was cold and stiff. It was confusing to him. He had never experienced this before. He stayed there with her for days, bringing her the grubs and the shrews and chasing away circling buzzards in the daytime and scavengers in the night and biting at the flies that buzzed furiously everywhere. Perhaps he would have understood if he would have grown up a wolf, but he had grown up as a human in a wolf's body, with a wolf's mind, and with a wolf's ability to comprehend. As each day passed, her body rotted more in the sun and the open air. Eventually, her stomach began to rise and fall. Life? He bent in his excitement to sniff it, and as he did, the carcass burst, and a white, oozing mass rolled out. Life indeed, but of a different sort. Thousands of them, hundreds of thousands, each no bigger than a toenail, feasting, bubbling. And so he began to understand, and he began to spend more time on the high bank of the ridge, longing for a life that used to be. One day, as he was lying there on the ridge, panting, looking below, he saw something that didn't make sense. The other wolves had seen it too. They were on the ridge at a distance away. What they all saw was a child off by herself, quietly singing and picking flowers and arranging them into a tiny basket. Mithra recognized the scent and the sweet voice, though the scent was hidden by perfumes and oils. He had not seen Nahid the entire time he had been gone, not even from the ridge, but the scent was the same, and it reached up to the ridge and the long and highly sensitive nose of Mithra, and it caused him to react. It caused him to remember. He remembered that whenever Nahid would enter the room where Mithra was, he would spring to his feet and run to her. It got to be where it was a reaction of his muscles to the sight and the scent of the sweet little girl. He could smell her before she came visible. Belteshazzar used to laugh about it and say it was because Nahid was such an advanced entity. And so it was, on that ridge, that Mithra's muscles tensed and sprang into service. He was running toward her before he realized he was doing it. Mithra's approach was misunderstood by the pack. A hunt begins when one wolf, usually the alpha, though not always, that identifies the prey and then stalks it while the others follow from a distance. He spots the prey, rarely is it human. Typically, it is a weaker or injured member of a herd of some sort, a straggler. Then he initiates the attack. The attack is timid at first, hardly identifiable as an attack. The others mimic. They gather in a circle around the straggler, and quickly the animal is down and bleeding to death, but not before its soft entrails are devoured before its still living eyes. As Mithra ran up to Nahid and jumped on her and began licking her face, the pack thought it was an attack. The people watching thought, too, that it was an attack, and they ran to help with rocks and sticks and whatever else they could procure as weapons. They thought it was 6 wolves attacking the girl. In reality, it was 1 wolf protecting her from the other 5. The snarling and the gnashing of teeth was so furious that to discern friend from foe was not possible. Even Nahid herself did not realize what was happening, that it was Mithra keeping the other 5 away, because wolves don't snarl when they bring down prey and eat. They snarl and bare teeth when they fight. The snarling was from the lone wolf fighting the others, and it was furious. But nobody knew that. It was over quickly. The confused pack retreated to the ridge, and Mithra came sliding in to sit on Nahid's feet, confused as to why he was being chased away and why rocks were being thrown at him. He ran away to a certain distance, then sat, panting, confident that his decision was the right one, confident that he was one of the humans, knowing that now he could never go back to the pack, never go back to the wolves. Nor could he go back to the humans, as it turned out. He had protected one of them, saved her, and for that he would pay a price. One of the humans that had come to the child's rescue was none other than Oreides himself, believing also that it was all 6 wolves that had attacked. There were tears streaming down unabashed from Oreides' face as he stood there before his father, the king, his beloved Mithra by his side. "I will do it myself, father," he said. "It is my duty. It is my wolf. I will do it. It must be done." Gotarzes was right. You can never take the wild out of the wild. The 2 of them, Mithra and Oreides, walked into the forest, Oreides with a solemn look on his face, knowing it would be only him that would return, Mithra with a look of utter happiness on his face. And King Artabanus, he sat on his throne, and upon his face was a look of pride and with compassion in his heart, as Oreides and Mithra disappeared into the woods. This surely showed courage, the deepest kind, where duty supersedes wish. Perhaps he is a man after all. Perhaps he would make a good king.